Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, guys. My name is Heba Sukmaragaya Rokatiwi, and today I'm not alone to explain about this material. There are four of my friends, namely Fitria Wulandari, Fauzia Rahma, Nandita Zara, and also Zulfa Sasti, who will deliver relate with this material for today. So in this video, we would like to explain about the political, economic in Hong Kong exactly. So for the discussion, the first about the relation mainland and Hong Kong in political and economic context, and then Hong Kong government in formulating a new policy. Third is about Beijing growing involvement in Hong Kong governance. The next is Hong Kong and mainland socio-economic interaction, rising tensions, and the last is the political of universal suffrage and the Occupy central protest. So for the first material, will be delivered by me. It's about an overview of the political and economic context for mainland and Hong Kong relation. Okay, so in general, the political and economic relationship between mainland and Hong Kong can be seen in how Beijing's strategy toward Hong Kong and also how the social economic interaction goes on between them. So from that we can find out in general how the relationship between mainland and Hong Kong itself. It should be noted that Beijing made a strategy against of Hong Kong, the backdrop of the economic downturn at that time in 2003. So it is believed that this strategy could maintain its prosperity. So the first strategy is about the central government's constitutional authority and its steering of Hong Kong's political reform. The second is about active shaping of Hong Kong's governance through various control mechanisms. The third about the adoption of a pragmatic approach in dealing with the pro-democracy force over constitutional reform, which expedited the fragmentation of the pan-democratic in democratic camp in Hong Kong. The fourth is the expansion of the United Front network in support of the mainland. The next is about the prompting of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region government to promote national education and patriotism. And the last strategy Beijing toward Hong Kong is the constitutional support for Hong Kong's economic integration with the mainland. It is in order to sustain its prosperity and alleviate socioeconomic discontents when the Chinese economy was experiencing rapid growth. So these are the Beijing strategy toward Hong Kong. The next is regarding socio-economic interaction in both exactly growing socio-economic interaction in between mainland and Hong Kong, which in general has increased rapidly since 1997. It can be said that Hong Kong is increasingly dependent on improving the Chinese economy and striving to become a major financial, shipping, and trading center. can be seen in the number of visitors from the mainland to Hong Kong, which number about 46 million people. So it was concluded the social interaction between the two was very rapid, despite a decline when the visit restriction policy was imposed. In addition, in the economic field, Hong Kong is very dependent on mainland, where the mainland Chinese market is very important for Hong Kong service for export because it can ensure rapid economic growth in Hong Kong itself. In addition, also because of the interrelationship between the two, this could become a boomerang between mainland and Hong Kong itself if they cannot create policy or strategies to keep a stable and balanced economy. Because if it does not run optimally, Hong Kong will face intense competition with other regions in the mainland. And also, Hong Kong will inevitably face severe competition with other regions in the mainland. In short, while Hong Kong is still a major international financial center and trending partner for the mainland, its overall economic significance has receded over time as other cities and regions has forged ahead. So the conclusion about the growing socio-economic interaction between mainland and Hong Kong are they are interdependent uh, in the growth of socio-economic interaction. So I think that's all for the first material. The next will be delivered by my friend.
Now I'm going to explain about the formulating a new policy in governing Hong Kong. It has several main points. First is preparing the groundwork, changing personnel and strengthening research. Second, setting out new policy parameters. Third, promoting a correct understanding of the basic law and the constitutional order under one country, two systems. Third, chief executive's transcendent position. And the last is promulgating a new policy framework exercising. Now I'm going to talk about the preparing the groundwork, changing personnel, and strengthening research. A series of reshuffles of senior personnel on Hong Kong affairs occurred since Xi Jinping took power. On December 19, 2012, the former Deputy Director of State Council's Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office and the former Secretary for the ex-director Liao Hui Zhang Xiaoming replaced Peng Qinghua, who was posted out to Guangxi hastily as the director of the license office of the CPG in the HKSAR. Zhang is widely regarded as a hardliner on Hong Kong matters, so his appointment reflects Beijing's stringent approach. In March 2013, Zhang Dejiang, chair of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, took over the leadership of the Central Coordination Group on Hong Kong and Macau Affairs, while Vice President Lee Yuan Kao became his deputy. Moreover, to strengthen the research capacity and policy research on Hong Kong, a high-level think tank, the Chinese Association of Hong Kong and Macau Studies, comprised of senior officials like Chen Zuo-er and well-known pro-Beijing scholars such as Lau Xiu-kai, former head of Hong Kong Central Policy Unit, and key advisors like Professors Rao Keping, Basic Club Committee member, and Wang Zhenmin, later appointed as head of the Legal Department of LO, and it was established in December 2014 as well. Next, setting out new policy parameters. State sovereignty, national security, and development interests are adopted by Beijing's top leadership as China's core interests to be upheld in dealing with domestic and international affairs. At the 18th National Congress of the CPC in November 2012, whose speech mentioned the three core interests in relation to Hong Kong and Macau affairs for the first time. He said the underlying goal of the principles and policies adopted by central government concerning Hong Kong and Macau is to uphold China's sovereignty, security and development interests, and maintain long-term prosperity and stability of the two regions. Further, the decision of the fourth plenum of the CPC's 18th Central Committee held in October 2014 not only reiterated the supremacy of the Chinese constitution and the need to accurately implement OCTS in accordance with the constitution and the basic law, but also pledged to prevent and oppose interference by foreign powers in Hong Kong and Macau affairs. The three core interests and the prevention of interference by foreign countries are further formalized in several national legislations. In short, the Chinese authorities began to recast its strategy toward Hong Kong in accordance with a broader set of policy parameters, showing its growing concern over what is considered as unwelcome developments in the HKSR that may threaten its core interests. Next is promoting a correct understanding of the basic law and the constitutional order under one country, two systems. One key element of Beijing's strategy is to promote what it sees as the correct understanding of the basic law to consolidate its jurisdiction over Hong Kong. The first signal of revisiting the understanding of the basic law was sent by the then Chinese Vice President Xi Jinping. During his visit to Hong Kong on July 8, 2008, he stated that there should be solidarity and sincere cooperation with the governing team, and mutual understanding and support amongst the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. In response, the Hong Kong Bar Association retorted that it is important to recognize, reiterate, and affirm the importance of an independent judiciary, and that the judiciary in Hong Kong has always been and under the basic law, and it shall remain separate and independent from the executive and the legislature, hence not a part of the governing team. The views of Hong Kong legal community hence show an understanding of the basic law radically different from that of the central authorities. Other unofficial voices from Beijing also criticize the understanding of Hong Kong's constitutional order. And the next is chief executive's transcendent position. The debate on the separation of powers and judicial independence was further reopened by Zhang Xiaoming, who claimed that the CE has a transcendent legal position above the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary in mid-September 2015. He also said Hong Kong is not a political system that exercises the separation of powers, not before the handover, not after the handover. Zhang's statement has raised serious concern in Hong Kong, as exemplified by responses from the HKBA, which reiterated that the common law principle of separation of powers will continue to be implemented within the constitutional framework of the Basic Law, and that the CE cannot be said to be above the law. From Beijing's perspective, while the three branches of government each had their own powers and duties, the CE's position is supreme. And the last is promulgating a new policy framework exercising comprehensive jurisdiction. Beijing's new framework on governing Hong Kong is systematically expounded by State Council's white paper on the practice of the one country, two systems policy in the HKSR issued on June 10, 2014. This document is critical in understanding Beijing's new approach as it formalizes and institutionalizes how the CPG might use its many powers. For the first time, the CPG formally states that it will exercise comprehensive jurisdiction over Hong Kong. The white paper also categorized judges of the courts and other judicial personnel as part of the Hong Kong administrators, and hence they should have on their shoulders the responsibility of correctly understanding and implementing the basic law, of safeguarding the country's sovereignty, security and development interests, and ensuring the long-term prosperity and stability of Hong Kong, as loving the country is the basic political requirement for Hong Kong's administrators. The white paper has stimulated critical responses from the Hong Kong community, but the strongest response again came from the legal profession. Over 1,800 lawyers protested against the white paper on June 26, 2014, saying that the document jeopardized Hong Kong's judicial independence. Next chapter will be explained by my friend.
In this section, I would like to discuss about China's involvement in Hong Kong governance. It covering a wider spectrum of issues, not only restricted to the high politics, like constitutional order or the chief executive election, but also other areas such as media. There are three cases here where Beijing growing involvement and influence have important implications for Hong Kong governance. The first case is central government role in 2012 chief executive election. The 2012 chief executive election proves Beijing's direct involvement in selecting the head of Hong Kong Special Administrative Region government. Although formally the election considered as the election by 1,200 strong electoral college, there are two candidates here. The first candidate is Henry Tang. He is the former chief of secretary for Hong Kong administration. He also a second-generation Hong Kong tycoon and was first considered as the preferred candidate. But because of his scandal of owning a lavish but illegally built basement at his home was exposed to the media, then the society turned to support the second candidate, who is Leung Chun-yi. He is the former co-founder of the Executive Council and the Secretary General of the Basic Law Consultative Committee. He was widely seen to have a very close relation with Chinese authorities. Central People Government has tried all out to lobby votes for Leung, involving high-level officials such as the State Councillor Liu Yantong, Liao Hui, and Wang Kuan-ya from Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office. Finally, Leung Chun-yi won the chief executive election with 689 votes, and only minority of the committee members didn't support him. The second case is eroding the boundary between two systems, the mystery of missing bookseller. A mysterious case threatening one country, two systems concern 5 missing booksellers. On 30 December 2015, Li Bo, a Hong Kong bookseller who specialized in selling banned political books on mainland China, disappeared. 2 colleges and 2 employees of Li had also disappeared since October 2015. However, Li was found his travel document at home, and there were surveillance tapes and witnesses indicating that he might have been brought to the mainland with unconscious condition. On 17 January 2016, one of the owners of Li's bookstore appeared on the state television, admitting that he killed a drunk driving crash 12 years ago. Many Hong Kongers question the authenticity of the charge and believe Boy was forced by the authorities to confess. For the public general, the concern over cross-boundary law enforcement action by mainland personnel and the danger of publishing and voicing views unpleasant to the Chinese leadership constitute was answered question that will erode the trust on one country, two systems. The last case is increasing constraint on the freedom of speech and press. The increasing political and economic pressure over media owners and business has led to growing self-censorship in the media industry, so as not to antagonize Beijing. In a meeting with senior news executives from almost all Hong Kong news outlets in April 2014, Vice President Li Yuanchao pushed them to consider the overall interests of China and Hong Kong, and report the Occupy Central protest correctly. A few months later, Chan King-cheung, Hong Kong Economic, as the chief of editor quite abruptly, revealing that he had received pressure from the management so to drop the column of Occupy Central Initiative, Who is Benny Tai? He also exposed that Hong Kong Economic Journal was boycotted by some Chinese company that pulled off their advertisement because they were unsatisfied with the paper's stance on the Occupy Central movement. On 15 September 2012, the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, who was Roy Tang, a civil servant without any media experience be the head of the popular public broadcaster, which is Radio Television Hong Kong. The appointment, considered as political pressure to undermine Radio Television Hong Kong's broadcasting's independence and trigger strong opposition from its staff union. Opposition from its staff union. Online media platform were also under different pressure on 8 August 2012 for assault reach the difference in media, an online outlet media with a strong localist orientation. In 2012, Sai Tung Ho established a popular pro-democratic online news site to which the House of News. The site has taken a supportive stand on the Occupy Central and posted articles of columnists who criticized Leung Chun-yi. And on 26 of July 2014, Soy shut down the site and deleted all existing articles, claiming he was frightened. Also say that he and his family had felt the pressure without any details. The media, under pressure, have taken the political stance different Beijing and have many worried about the future of media freedom.
Okay, I will explain about recent tension in socio-economic interaction between the Hong Kong and the mainland. Because of the relation between Hong Kong and the mainland, which is China, emerged the political policy, which is localism. Localism being a state identity for the Hong Kong. In the first time, localism held the value to preserve Hong Kong historical heritage, way of life, and local communities in opposition to the ideology driven by the economic development since the protests against the demolition of Star Ferry Pier and Queen Pier in 2006 until 2007. And the other interest from the social group in Hong Kong is the related to political and economic development, migrant tourism, and the other interest is to they want Hong Kong become the independent state without interference from the China. And this group include Neo Democrats, People Power, Young Generation, Hong Kong Indigenous, Civic Fashion, HKNP, or Hong Kong Nativism Power, and Xianggang Betul Liliang, better named as the Localism Power. Some of group registered as the former political party and run to legislative council (LEGCO) election, and some of the group using the violence to achieve their interests. HKNP is the first group formed the online protest again for offering social benefit to new immigrants, mostly coming from the mainland, such as opposing the HKXR. The other problem is the Hong Kong babies. The government issuing the birth certificate for the baby whose parents are both mainlanders. It is emerged again from the Hong Kong citizen to press the government to stop issuing the birth certificate or offering residence to new baby born. The other controversy is the rising of the number of mainland visitors after the outbreak SARS in 2003 created the problem of the overcrowded mall, theme park, parallel trading. Then the Hong Kong citizen cannot fulfill their necessary because of the full of China citizen in the Hong Kong. It is emerged the new policy, such as for the baby formula, the limitation for the visitor who can buy the baby formula. And data complete extend from the para-tradis to ordinary visitors and tourists from the mainland. For the instance, hundreds of people organized an anti-locust campaign in Shaanxi in mid-February 2014, waving colonial era flags, campaign and chanting "Go back to China" at the mainland visitors. Some localist groups, such as Hong Kong Indigenous and Civic Fashion, gathered at Tuen Mun and set in to protest against mainland pirate trade and shoppers. Uh, Global China media in the mainland side IVS or the tourism was a gift from the CPG to Hong Kong to receive the depressed economy because of the SARS outbreak and criticized the Hong Kongers for being selfish to impose quota or discriminatory measures to control mainland visitors. And next is the rest of Hong Kongers' identity and the decline of the confidence in one country two system. In previous group, I already mentioned about the one country two system. China and Hong Kong is the one country, but they have the two system. It is approach for China to make Hong Kong can join the China as a one country. Identity politics is a sensitive issue in the mainland Hong Kong relation. Activists, Hong Kong activists find the curriculum to brainwashing the two students. With the propaganda, the China model published by the government-funded National Education Service Center described the CPC as the progressive, selfless, and united. From this is emerged the protest. More than 120,000 people protest because of this curriculum. They want the government back down on the mandatory introduction of the curriculum. From the Beijing perspective, it was indication of the failure of the nation identity building youth work in Hong Kong. And former the Hong Kong people equipped themselves to be the new Hong Kongers. New Hong Kongers mean the migrants come from mainlanders, being the new new Hong Kong citizen. And for they are can be the Hong Konger because of the admission, which is the admission scheme for mainland talents and professional. And it makes worries because the discrimination against the new Hong Kongers within the HKSUR. United is public authors against the mainland and the CPC. There is a deeper yearning of Hong Kongers' identity and their confidence in OCTS. According to opinion poll conducted by University of Hong Kong, respondents identified themselves as Hong Kongers, and Hong Kong people hold an increasingly pessimistic view on the future of the city, and it is recent with the mainland. Indicated the people not confident in Hong Kong future. The poll also found the youth between the age 18 and 29 fondly distrusted both the Hong Kong and the mainland government. Because of that, there are so many emerged the new social group because they don't believe with the Hong Kong government and the mainland. And next material will delivered by Julfa.
In this chapter, we would like to talk about the politics of universal suffrage and the Occupy Central protest. These are some of the factors as the parameter for guiding the future political reform and are widely regarded as the primary reason for triggering the OC protest. So the first reason is the erosion of mutual trust and the struggle over the Occupy Central protest. Since Lau, academic Benite from the University of Hong Kong raised the idea of a massive sit-in to occupy the central business district as a last resort. To demand for universal suffrage in January 2013, the CPG has started to establish different criteria or constraints for Hong Kong's constitutional reform, both formal and informal channels. And the second reason is building an anti-Occupy Central United Front and forming pro-Beijing mass organization. The CPG has not only sought to boost the support of the HKSIR government but also cultivated various mass organizations in Hong Kong in struggling against the OC movement 1 week before the eruption of the OC protests. Tang led a delegation of more than 70 Hong Kong business tycoons to meet the top leadership in Beijing in September 2014. And the third is the negative coverage by the state media. Media reports on Hong Kong protests are usually censored in the mainland. However, the state media CCTV's daily news program, Sin Wen Lian Po, reported the OC protests on September 13, 2014 for the first time and condemned the protests for severely disrupting Hong Kong's socio-economic order. More mainland media outlets covers the protests in the following days from the angles of negative impact caused by the protests and the corresponding action taken by HKSIR government. And the fourth is the rise of the independent voices among the younger generation. The OC movement further aggravated Beijing's worries over the lack of nation identity among the Hong Kong's youth. A new uniforms youth group, Hong Kong Army's Cadets Association, was inaugurated at the People's Liberation Army, or PLA, naval base on January 18, 2015, in response to outbreak of the OC protests and other localist tendencies. Yu Cheng-seng art Hong Kong delegates in March 2016 to strengthen the city's youth work so they could learn about China's achievement through cultural exchange. And the fifth reason is the aftermath of the Occupy Central protest impact on the universities. With the active involvement of academics and students in the OC movement, universities have come under pressure as a result. The most serious case concerned HKU in October 2014. Pro-Beijing newspaper Wen Weibo and Takungpo published internal emails of Benite and accused him receiving anonymous donation of HK dollar 1.45 million for the OC protest, which allegedly violated HKU internal guidelines. And the sixth reason is from the Mongkok riot to the rise of pro-independence parties. At the 9th February 8, 2016, the localist group Hong Kong Indigenous organized protests to support the unlicensed street hawkers who were cracked down by hawkers control teams in the Mongkok district. The protestants escalated into a riot for the first time since 1997. Rioters threw bricks at the police and lit fire after confronting the police. Partly due to the poor deployment of police, over 120 people were injured, mostly policemen and some journalists. Many analysts believe the underlying causes of the riots are due to the multiple factors such as the failure of the OC protest. And the seventh reason is Beijing involvement in the 2015 district council election and beyond. Beijing has played an active role in coordinating local election in recent years. The district council election in 2015 is the first election held after the OC movement, hence reflecting people's sentiments toward the Beijing has played an active role in coordinating local elections in recent years. The district council election OC movement, hence reflecting people's sentiment toward the May 31, 2015, Chiang Xiaoming warned the Pan-Democrats who reject the constitutional reform proposal will pay the debt with their votes. And Beijing also attempted to coordinate the 2016 Lexio election among the pro-establishment camp. And for the instance, central officials stopped the rural body Hongkong plan for forming its own political party in late April 2016. Okay, I think that's all from this chapter, and the conclusion will be delivered by my friend.
Okay, for the conclusion is given the growing localist sentiment among the younger generation and increasing tension in the relation between mainland and Hong Kong, Beijing seems to have adopted a new strategy to tackle Hong Kong. Soon the broader context of Chinese politics will be witness to the development of Xi Jinping's rigid authoritarian approach governing China, with onset a slower rate economic growth, though still strong by world standard, and rising social tension, not to mention increasingly violent international climate, China leadership will face even greater domestic and external challenge. Threatening grip can lead to even greater centrifugal tension among Hong Kong people, especially among the autonomy and the continuing depression of the system, where we are explicitly limited by the one country prerogative. So it means Hong Kong still under the umbrella of the Beijing. They are still have the strict limitation from the China or the mainland itself. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.